Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Facebook live chat here on Tuesday at noon with Richer Health. I am Nicolette. I'm the CEO and founder of the Green Mustache of Richer Health Consulting, and now our new wellness center, the Richer Health Retreat Center, that's going to be opening up in Pemberton, British Columbia in November 2017. Super excited to bring people to our center who want to learn how to eat to beat disease, how to eat real to heal, how to use food as medicine, how to detoxify the body, nourish your body on a cellular level so you can actually stop, reverse, and arrest disease. That's chronic degenerative lifestyle diseases. So today we are talking about detoxification. Now, we've talked a lot about detoxification. On the Gerson Therapy, you use food to detoxify, juices to detoxify. That's cooked and raw food, cold pressed juices. The supplements also help to stimulate the body and the organs and the tissues to do what they're designed to do best, which is to regenerate, to nutrify, to heal, and to detoxify. Now, we've also talked about using coffee enemas to detoxify the body as well. Really, it stimulates the liver and the gallbladder to produce more bile, to produce glutathione S transferase, to stimulate really the trapping of toxins and the dumping of toxins out of your body, and which supports the liver, which becomes burdened by all of the environmental toxins that we take in through the air, through our water, through our food, that we take in and create daily through stress, through suppressing the immune system, which then further suppresses the body from doing what it's supposed to do, which is to heal. Our body is designed to heal itself all the time. That's all it wants to do, is keep it in an optimal running state, because our body wants to thrive. So we need to, in this day and age especially, we need to support the body to do that, because of the amount of processed foods that we eat, the amount of, the 80,000 chemicals, toxic chemicals that get dumped into our environment every single year. A lot of those are not tested. A lot of those, we don't know the effects of the accumulation of those toxins in our body. Often when a new drug, a new chemical is created, usually it's not being tested alongside all those other toxins. So how those interact on the body, we still do not know. So when we see that, Health Canada and different health authorities have approved these chemicals to be used and in certain concentrations, what we need to ask is, well, how did those chemicals or those pharmaceuticals, when they are mixed with the host of other chemicals and pharmaceuticals that are coming into our body on a daily basis, how do those interact in the body? How do they build up? How does the body excrete them? And those are the things that we do not test for. Unfortunately, because if you can imagine the variables there to have to test for, 80,000 different plus products, we would never approve anything. And maybe really that is what we should be doing. We should be using the precautionary principle, which in Europe, they really use the precautionary principle when it comes to releasing chemicals and approving pharmaceuticals. And what the precautionary principle means is that we take caution. And we don't approve anything until we actually know the effects of it, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, versus the way it tends to be done in North America is that we approve first and then we wait and see what the damage is that gets created down the road. And unfortunately, at that point, trying to ban a drug, trying to ban a chemical takes years and years and years. And there's a lot of lawsuits that are happening. Lawyers, environmental lawyers, medical lawyers, they have these cases that they work on for years and years and years, trying to get these drugs and chemicals that are banned in Europe, trying to get them banned over here. And in the meantime, people still take them in and consume them. And so it's no doubt that the third leading cause of death in North America is medical error. Medical error is when, doctors who are humans and people make mistakes. But often a lot of those mistakes is because we're approving these drugs and then doctors go out there and they prescribe these drugs and we really don't know how these drugs interact with each other. And they're overprescribed and then people die as a result. Vioxx is a prime example. It's a drug for arthritis and it's been approved, banned in Europe, but approved here. And basically it's a drug that, people who go in simply with arthritis, they take this drug and then before you know it, within a year, sometimes less than a year, they die of heart attacks because it damages the heart. So we are going to talk about detoxification because we know that we need to support our bodies to detoxify these things that we take in now that we never used to take in 150 years ago, 300 years ago, 2,000 years ago. So we are living in a very different world. So we need to behave differently, and relying on our body simply to do that detoxification on its own is not enough these days. We need to incorporate other things, which is number one, first and foremost, clean, healthy food. If you're not putting clean, healthy food into your body and clean, healthy beverages into your body, then, these other detoxification techniques definitely are going to help, but you're not going to probably be living an optimal life and having optimal health like you could, because at the very beginning, food is responsible for about 80% of supporting our body to do everything, to regenerate, to heal, to detoxify, and to keep us thriving. So let's start with the topic of the day, which is going to be yoga and breathing. Now, I just want to invite you into a process that I have been using. I'm the worst at creating habits. Once I have a habit created, I am also the worst at breaking habits. So it's really, really tough for me to stick to one thing, which I'm sure a lot of you can relate to. But I somehow stumbled across Mel Robbins' work. Mel Robbins, she's the author of the 5-Second Rule. She has an amazing TED Talk. We're going to put the link in the Facebook post after this talk. And Mel Robbins, watch her talk, get her book, implement what she says, because it's so easy, it's so efficient. And the human brain loves easy and efficient. We hate to suffer. We hate to be in pain. We hate anything that's going to have to make us work hard. Our body tends to, and our brain tends to want to avoid those things. So Mel Robbins has made it so simple, and it's all based on the latest neuroscience work. I love the work that she does. It's science-based, it's easy, and I'm sure you're going to love it too. So the 5-second rule, the reason I'm teaching this to you now is because I want you to use that 5-second rule every morning to implement the yoga and the breathing into your life. And what's beautiful about this, it's free. It doesn't cost anything. You don't need a chiropractor. You don't need a physio. You don't need a doctor. You don't need a life coach. You don't need anything. You can do this in your own home, and you can take charge of your health. And believe me, if I can do this, if I can implement this rule and start creating good habits and kicking out the bad habits, I know that all of you are going to be able to do it as well. It's so easy. So the way it works is with the 5-second rule. If you have a thought, an idea, you want to do something, you need to act on it in the first 5 seconds. I might have called it the 5-minute rule. It's a 5-second rule. So that 5-second rule is that if you wait longer than 5 seconds, your brain will take over. Your saboteur will take over and will do anything and everything to stop you from doing what it is that you just had, that you just wanted to do, that idea that you had. So often in the morning for me, it usually starts like this. One of my kids wakes me up, which I love seeing their smiley, happy faces first thing in the morning. My 6-year-old comes into bed, and she usually starts rambling about some dream she had. And it's so funny because it's completely out of context. Like, I'm still half asleep here. And she just comes out with these incredible words and descriptions of her dreams. And it's fantastic. So every morning when she comes in, I'm like, okay, now's my chance. I need to get out of bed, and I need to stretch, or I need to breathe, or I need to get dressed and go for a run, or I want to get up and make myself, a healthy cold pressed juice, or it could be that I want to write in my journal and I'm just going to write in my gratitude journal. It doesn't matter what it is. It could even be a thought of an article or a blog that I want to write. Whatever it is that happens. And usually what I do is I allow 5 seconds to lapse. And within those 5 seconds, I start hearing my saboteurs coming in being like, no, go back to bed, cuddle with your daughter longer, which is not a bad thing. And then basically I'm still in bed 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, 20 minutes later. And then I need to jump out of bed, and then I need to start rushing. And it's awful because basically I'm like, stressed. I'm trying to feed my kids. I'm trying to get to work. And I haven't done any of those things that I wanted to do, which is simply breathing and stretching in the morning. So Mel Robbins says that in the first 5 seconds, you need to act. You cannot wait 5 seconds because your saboteurs will take over. And it's really a protective mechanism. It's to keep life easy and efficient and calm. And staying in bed, yes, is much easier than getting out of bed and having to sit and meditate and breathe, do stretching, anything, whatever it is, go for a run, whatever it is that you want to do. And this happens all throughout the day as well. We have an idea. We're like, oh, I know I should call that person and tell them I was thinking about them. Or, I know I should go to the bank and deal with the bank issues. Or I know I should send that email. And often we allow 5 seconds to lapse and then we never get to it. And then it becomes one of those things on our to-do list that often stays on our to-do list forever. So the way you implement the 5-second rule is that you have the idea, you have the thought, and you act within 5 seconds. So I've been implementing it and I love it. And one of the things that I've done is, instead of telling myself to not check my phone every morning, I actually put Mel Robbins' screensaver on my phone. So when I open up my phone, the first thing that I see is my wallpaper that says basically do these 5 things. And so she has started. So anyway, she's inspired me to start my day off this way. So I wake up in the morning and listen to my daughter and all of her dreams. My other 2 girls come in, chat with them, and that's great. I want that. That's something I'm choosing. It's a good habit. And then when I reach for my phone and I look at it, I'm reminded about Mel Robbins and the 5-second rule. And so there's 5 things that I do. Number 1, I take 5 deep breaths, and we're going to get into why breathing is so important. So I take 5 deep breaths, and then I kick my girls out of my room and I'm like, you're out of here. Go do something else. Wait for mom for 4 minutes. And so I sit in silence for 4 minutes. That's it. And really now 4 minutes is not even enough. I could sit in silence for an hour. And it was so easy because I didn't have to tell myself, Nikki, get up and meditate, right? Because that's a habit creating task that almost seems daunting sometimes, especially if you've never meditated. I love meditating, but it's even hard for me to remember to do it every day. So instead, I just sit in silence for 4 minutes and it's beautiful. And now if I want 4 minutes to be 8 minutes or 12 minutes, I do that and it's okay. Then after that, I grab my journal and I write 3 things that I'm grateful for. So super easy, right? Haven't even gotten out of bed yet. So easy. It's efficient. It's not painful. It's beautiful. And Mel Robbins is there to remind me every morning because her wallpaper is on my phone. Then after that, I write 2 tasks that I'm going to do today. Just 2 things I want to accomplish today. Sometimes it's send out an email to somebody that I've been meaning to write an email to. Sometimes it's, sit down and buckle down and write a proposal for whatever it is. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be small. It just needs to be 2 tasks that you want to accomplish today. And then the last thing you do is you write the one reason why those 2 things are important for you to do. Why are those 2 things important? Because sometimes we choose things that are not important as a way of avoiding the pain of doing those other things that are important, that might give you success, that might give you, joy, that might give you whatever it is, but sometimes it's fearful to step into that space. So it's really easy. 5 breaths, okay? 4 minutes of silence, 3 things you're grateful for, 2 tasks that you're going to create, and 1 reason why those 2 tasks are important for you to do. So let's jump into the 5 breaths. Now, why do we have to breathe? Okay. So the beautiful thing about it is our body automatically breathes for you. It knows that you need breath. You need oxygen. Oxygen is life-giving nutrients in your body, and it's what supplies your body with the O2 that keeps us alive. Like, it's so important. And I think it's the one thing we really take for granted because our brain just knows you need to breathe, so you don't have to think about it. It's automatic. It's similar to when you've been driving in your car and, you've picked up your kids from school, or you've, driven to work and you can't even remember all those street lights that you went through. You can't remember changing lanes. You can't remember, turning on the ignition because it's all automatic. Okay. That's the way breathing is. But what I want you to do is I want you to make breath something that is a mindful practice, okay? It's not just automatic, because unfortunately in us adults, especially busy adults that are working and have kids, or you're busy, planning things, traveling, it doesn't matter, you're studying, our breath becomes quite shallow. You're not taking those deep, full belly breaths that our babies do, that children just naturally do. And when we're not taking those full belly breaths, those deep breaths, mindful breaths, we're not maximizing the capacity of our lungs, the capacity of all our organs to get oxygen, for our blood to be richly, deeply nutrified. So this is why I want you to make breath a mindful practice. Now, when you're breathing, there's many different types of breathing techniques that you can do, and we're going to go through 4 of them. So we're going to just cover Ujjayi breath, okay? And then we're going to cover alternate nostril breathing, then Kapalabhati breathing, which is shining skull breath, and then the last, which is my ultimate favorite right now, is Wim Hof breathing. So if you don't know about Wim Hof, WIMHOF, I'm going to teach you all about this incredible man that has completely debunked science when it comes to what we know about healing the immune system, our breathing, and really all things about how our body can heal. We are superhumans, and we know very little about the human body, about the human mind, and there's still so much to be discovered. We are not even close to understanding how the human body works, even though we can name all the parts. We can follow about 250 chemical reactions in the body. Sure, we know all the bones, we know how all the veins and everything connect, but every single year we're discovering something new. And I love throwing this one out. I throw it out each and every time to remind you. History reminds us that we don't know everything. And that in 2013, they discovered that we actually have little tiny spiders that live inside our facial pores. And those spiders, and something else that I just learned from a participant at one of our workshops last week, is that there's female spiders and male spiders. And when I believe it's the female spiders, they become dominant and they take over. That leads to things like rosacea in our face. And so it's about having a balance of all of these, these spiders and bacteria and these different parasites that live in our body. So I tell you that to remind you that we still really don't know everything or even close to anything about the way the human body works. Now let's get back to breath. The reason we want to breathe as well is because our lungs are one of our major detoxifying organs. So we have our liver. A lot of us know that we have our liver. If you don't know where your liver resides, it's on the right side of your body, just underneath your rib cage there, up in your rib cage being protected. And it's a big, massive, heavy organ. And it performs 500 plus different activities every single day on your behalf. They're all automatic. You don't have to think about them. Your brain just knows what your liver is supposed to do, and vice versa. So your liver is a major detoxifying organ. Your skin is a major detoxifying organ. In fact, it's your largest if you're looking at surface area. We also have our kidneys, which are a beautiful detoxifying organ. They detoxify the HI inside of your body, the acidity, and the sodium. They really regulate the salts, and they are constantly dumping sodium out of your body so that pretty much you don't have to suffer from things like edema and swelling of your cells. They get the sodium out. Now, our lungs, we tend to forget that our lungs are a major, major detoxification organ. Okay, they're detoxifying the CO2 and other gases out of our system. They are filtering the air as it comes in, protecting us. They're killing bacteria. They're doing all sorts of things. And so our lungs are a beautiful organ, and today we honor the lungs and using breath to do so. So let's talk about Ujjayi breathing. In yoga, when it's really the basic form of breath, but let's take one step back from that. Let's say you just want to breathe. You want to be mindful breather. When you wake up in the morning and you take those 5 full breaths, you can simply, it doesn't have to be anything that's forced. You don't even have to think about a breathing technique. You're just going to bring your awareness to your breath, and you're just going to inhale your breath in through your nose and exhale either through your nose or through your mouth. I like to exhale out through my mouth. And you're just going to do that 5 times. Now, I just did that there, and what was so beautiful is I got a massive rush of energy to my brain. At least that's what it felt like. It almost felt like a mini high. So it's beautiful because it's kind of like you're doing drugs. For anybody out there who's really into doing drugs, you can simply just use breath and yoga to achieve that same high. And so again, you're just inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. And it doesn't need to be forced. It doesn't need to be, you're not trying to push your belly out, but you're just trying to bring breath in and imagine a belly expanding, a balloon expanding in your belly, filling up, and then you're just going to release it. And that's it. Do that 5 times. Now let's get into Ujjayi breath. I taught yoga for 10 years, still sometimes teach, love teaching yoga, especially to people who've never done it before, people who think it's a religion or a cult. It's amazing how so many people still think that about yoga, despite the fact that it's such a trendy thing to do. But I love teaching more of a traditional yoga. Like, let's take it right back to the beginning. Let's focus just on drishti, which is a focal point. Let's bring mindfulness in, and let's really focus on our breath before we even move into any postures. So the basic breathing technique in yoga that we teach is called Ujjayi breath. Okay, and Ujjayi breath, it's an ocean breath. It's an ocean sounding breath. And really what you do is you just relax your jaw, relax your muscles in your face, relax the muscles in your body, and you just want to let everything go. And you're just going to inhale in through the back of your nose, the back of your throat, almost like you're inhaling, like there's two little holes right here on opposite sides of your thyroid. It's that butterfly-shaped organ right here in your neck. And it's almost like you're trying to breathe in through your throat, not through your nose. And so your mouth is closed, and you take that breath in. You're probably not going to hear it, but if you do it to yourself, you're not going to be able to hear me do it. But if you do this right now, what it is, it's an ocean sound. It's almost like you're creating the ocean of waves in the back of your throat. And then when you release out through your nose. And again, it's going to sound like an ocean. And again, it doesn't need to be forced. Sometimes in yoga classes, I'll hear these people who are like intense ocean sounding breath, which is beautiful, but it doesn't even have to be that loud. And really, you're just hearing it in your ears. You're hearing it in the back of your throat, the back of your nasal passage, and then you're inviting that breath into your body, into all parts of your body. If you have an area of your body that's tight, muscles that are really not fluid, invite the breath into those muscles. And then you're just going to expand your chest out, your heart out, your shoulders wide, the back body out to the back of the room, and fill up your belly with that breath, and then let it out through your nose. That's Ujjayi breath. So if you're doing Mel Robbins technique, the 5 things that you could do every single morning, you can choose Ujjayi breath, and it's a beautiful way to do it. Now, let's say you want to move beyond Ujjayi breath. There's no breathing technique that's better than the other. You just use them for different reasons. So you can do alternate nostril breathing. Now, this one, if you don't know your lefts and rights really well, can be a little bit challenging, but it's fine. And with the alternate nostril breathing, essentially you're just going to place 2 fingers on your forehead, and you're going to take your ring finger and then your thumb and place it on your nostrils, either side of your nostrils. And I like to do this because it grounds me, is to have my 2 fingers pressed against my forehead. And then when I'm doing this type of breathing, basically Ujjayi alternate nostril breathing, I don't tend to beat myself up if I actually get it wrong. Sure, we can say you get it wrong, but you know what? You just learn how to move from left to right, right to left. And you might mess up, whatever, just let it go and continue. Okay, so when you do alternate nostril breathing, basically you're going to plug one nostril, release your ring finger, and you're going to breathe in through the opposite nostril, and then you're going to breathe out through the same nostril. And then when you breathe out and you release, then you're going to switch. Okay, so you're going to lift your thumb, you're going to inhale in, inhale out, and then you're going to release. So you're always breathing in through your nostrils here. Inhale one side, exhale the same side. Release the fingers, inhale on the opposite side, exhale on that same side, and then swap fingers. And be patient with yourself, because you're probably not going to get it right the first time, and that is okay. You're going to get it. And you can go on YouTube, you can look up, breathing techniques for Kapalabhati breath, which is for alternate nostril breathing, and you're going to get it. And you can choose to use that form of breath in the morning as part of Mel Robbins' 5 things to do when you first wake up. So the alternate nostril breathing is beautiful because what it does is it activates the left side of your brain and the right side of your brain separately. And it allows you to bring breath into the body and trigger mindfulness in both sides of the brain. And you basically are activating I hate to say the creative side and the logic side, because neuroscience is telling us that that's not necessarily true any longer. We can activate all parts of our brain to really be creative, to be logical. But if we want to use that type of thinking, basically that's what you're doing. And essentially at the end of it, what you've created is this whole brain situation that's activated. It's bright, it's light, it's been oxygenated, and you can use the alternate nostril breathing for that. Now let's get into shining skull breath. I love this. They say that, and often you'd see this in yoga classes, if anybody is bald and they do this breathing, their skull lights up and becomes bright red. most of us who, some of us who have hair, you're not going to sense that. It creates heat in the body as well. If you're pregnant, be mindful about doing this. If you do have heart issues, be mindful about doing this. Look up the contraindications online for Kapalabhati, shining skull breath, and high blood pressure, things like that. But you could do the other breathing techniques, use food to get you well, and then you'll be able to incorporate shining skull breath into your life. Now, shining skull breath, again, it takes coordination, so I'm just going to move here. And really what you want to do here, I don't know if you can see it. I'm just going to adjust this so that you can see my hands are on my belly here. And when you do shining skull breath, you can just sit in a cross-legged position, or you can sit on your knees on the ground. You can put a pillow underneath your bum, in between your bum and the heel and your heels, to raise you up a bit if it's too tense on your knees. But basically with Kapalabhati breathing, it's a forced breath. It's the only time I would say use breath in a forceful way. But again, bring mindfulness to it. And you don't want to create pain. And this is one of the breathing techniques where I would say blow your nose first, because you are going to be forcing air rapidly out through your nose. And as I see that, I see my nose ring has flipped out from doing the alternate nostril breathing. So blow your nose, you're going to be blowing things out, and that's okay. Just have a Kleenex beside you or a towel. And with this, you're just going to relax. Let all your breath out and your belly fall forward. Okay, all your breath out. And then when you inhale, expand your belly out even further. And then when you exhale, you're going to force the breath through your nose. And as you can see, when I'm breathing out, my belly draws back in. So my belly button is going towards my back body, towards my spine. And as I inhale, you're pushing your hands out. And so when you do this breath, you can do this for a count of 10, a count of 20, a count of 30. It really doesn't matter. And as you exhale on your last breath, you're just going to exhale and force all the air out through your nose, and exhale, and then just return to a normal breathing. So just allow your breath to come in and out. And even just doing that, the 5, 6, 7 times that I just did it, it increased my body temperature. And increasing your body temperature is a great thing. We know from studies where people have had cancer when they've simultaneously actually gotten a virus or a bacteria that causes their temperature to increase and gives them a fever. And sometimes the fever is so intense it lasts a long time. What they actually found is that in some of these patients, the cancers completely went away. And so there is a relationship between doing hydrotherapy, where you're using heat to heat the body and to actually induce a fever as a way of killing cancer. And so I'm going to do a lot more research on that. I want to do a whole entire Facebook Live talk on that, because there is a lot of research that has been done and is still being done. But creating heat in the body is a wonderful thing as well. When you do any of these breathing techniques, what you're actually doing is increasing oxygen supply into your blood. And then when you're exhaling carbon dioxide out and a lot of the waste. And you allow toxins to move through the bloodstream from the tissues and organs into the bloodstream, and then allow the lungs to cleanse those toxins and get them out. And you're breathing those out through your breath. So breathing is so, so important. So now you know that you can just use a normal mindful breathing technique. Inhale in, exhale out. You can use Ujjayi breath, ocean sounding breath. You can use the shining skull breath, Kapalabhati breathing, and you can use alternate nostril breathing. And there's so many other types of breathing techniques out there, but if you just stick to those and one morning choose one, another morning choose another, fantastic. Now, oh my gosh, I'm feeling even a little bit lightheaded just from showing you those breathing techniques, which is wonderful. Like I said, it's like a high when you do this. So the last breathing technique that I want to get into is Wim Hof breathing. Now, I signed up for the Wim Hof course because the science behind Wim Hof is brilliant. It's about time somebody looked at an individual, looked at the breathing techniques that they were doing, and really applied good, hard, rigorous science behind it to really show what was happening in the body. So you can watch Wim Hof on TED Talks. You can follow him on Facebook, on his website. They actually rewrote high school biology textbooks to incorporate a whole chapter on the Wim Hof method, because, like I said before, Wim Hof has debunked what we know about the human body. Now, Wim Hof, he's got an incredible story, a sad story, but that sadness has actually brought a lot of light to the world. Wim Hof, his wife committed suicide. He had 4 kids. He was left to be a single parent, no wife, who he deeply loved, and he started to have panic attacks. And then he, from there, started to look at breath as a way to help him through that, and saw that he naturally would start to do this particular type of breathing, which is actually very similar to how women in labor breathe, and which I think is amazing, because we use our breath in laboring to help us labor, to help us ease pain, to help us through transactions, to help stimulate our endocrine system to create the right hormones that are going to give us the energy to get through labor. So increase the cortisol and the adrenaline. It gives us a high, that birthing high that actually wears off about a week to 3 weeks after we've delivered a baby. But, that adrenaline rush is what allows us to get through this. Often it can be fearful. There's pain. Your body's doing something it's never done before. But it allows us to tolerate pain at such excruciatingly high levels that if you were trying to stimulate that same level of pain in an individual who's never had a baby or never been through labor or who isn't, it would knock them out immediately. But most pregnant women don't knock themselves out when they're laboring and birthing a baby and bringing a human into the world. And I think it's incredible that Wim Hof has made that connection between the type of breathing that has now scientifically been studied and the type of breathing that most women have always known in childbirth. So with this type of breathing, it's brilliant. They've tested Wim Hof. They've put him through so many trials and studies to show that the immune system actually gets stimulated with this type of breathing, which is awesome, right? Who doesn't want to have an immune system that is stimulated, especially in a day and time where now, thank goodness, immunotherapy research is a hot topic among the leading cancer researchers and scientists and doctors that are out there. So yes, we want to stimulate the immune system at all times. We want to do it through food. We want to do it through breath. We want to do it through exercise. We do it through certain supplements. And, you can also do it through yoga and breathing. So when you do the Wim Hof breathing, be prepared that you do not want to do this in the shower, in a bath, in a pool, while driving. Because it actually makes you lightheaded, and it can make you lightheaded. And so when you do the Wim Hof breathing, I want you to definitely go to the Wim Hof website, sign up for his course, go on YouTube, follow him, because he'll guide you through it. But I'm going to teach you the basics of it right now. So you want to be sitting down somewhere. You could also be lying down. I usually rest comfortably on my couch when I do this breath, so this type of breath work. And when you're sitting down in a safe place, because in case you do pass out from doing it, you want to make sure you're not going to hurt yourself. And with the Wim Hof breathing, basically you are taking a deep breath in to your body. It's never forced. It's never painful. And then you are expelling the air quite rapidly. Okay, so you're inhaling. And you do this for 20, 30, 40 breaths. And what you're going to feel is tingling sensation all throughout your body. You're going to feel it in your skull, in your bones, in your muscles. You're going to feel it at the tips of your fingers, the tips of your toes. And when you have inhaled so much and exhaled that carbon dioxide, and you're really trying to expel all the carbon dioxide out of your body. And when you fully saturated your body, you're going to exhale all of your breath, all of it. And then you're going to inhale all of your breath, and then you're going to hold it. And when you do this, you're going to try and hold it for as long as you can. Now, the average person can usually hold their breath for about 30 seconds to a minute. And that's a long time. But when you do this breath, and if you do this technique multiple times, you can actually hold your breath for up to 3 minutes. Now, the first time I did this Wim Hof breathing with my husband, I told him all about it. We were super excited about it, and we did it. The first time I was able to hold my breath for about 45 seconds. The second time I was able to hold my breath for about a minute and 20 seconds. And then the third time I was able to hold my breath for 2 minutes. And that was all within 10 minutes of doing this exercise. And the feeling that's generated in the body it's so stimulating, it's so satisfying. And from the science side of it, you've actually stimulated your endocrine system, you've stimulated your immune system, you have hormones, all the right hormones flooding and saturating your body, all the right nutrients flowing through, you've oxygenated your blood, allowing your capillaries, your blood vessels, everything to dilate and allow more blood flow through to bring more nutrients, to expel more toxins. It's quite brilliant. And so with Wim Hof breathing, that he encourages you and shows you how to do this breathing. So doing 20 to 30 breaths like that, and then holding your breath for as long as you can. And so if it's 45 seconds, a minute and a half, and then when you're ready to release, you exhale all of the air, all of it. So you suck your belly into your spine, and then you're going to hold your breath for about 15 seconds or as long as you can. For me, it tends to be about 15 to 20 seconds. And then you release, you relax, you're going to feel lightheaded. And then once you return back to a nice normal state, you're going to do the same thing over again. So the Wim Hof breathing technique, you can use it if you have panic attacks, anxiety. You use it if you want to stimulate your immune system, stimulate your endocrine system. And one of the very cool things is they used to believe that Wim Hof was this crazy guy who could hold his breath underwater for extended periods of time, who could sit packed in ice for extended periods of time. And they thought he was an anomaly. The scientists and the researchers thought there was something crazy about him because he could withstand these extreme temperatures, whether it was hot, whether it was cold, and without getting suffering from hypothermia or heat exhaustion. He's broken all of these world records by climbing Everest in nothing but a shirt or a pair of shorts and a pair of shoes. He has run across Death Valley doing marathons and ultra marathons with nothing but, I don't even think he had water or food when he did that. He has, swam underwater in the Arctic for extended periods of time without harming his body. He meditates on glaciers. Like, the guy is phenomenal. So they thought he was a freak of nature. And in fact, it turns out that he is not. So when they brought Wim Hof into the laboratory to study him and to see what was happening on an endocrine level, on an immune level, they found out that, he was pretty amazing. White blood cell count increased to fight off infection, all things like that. They injected this guy with E. coli, enough to do serious harm, and really no side effects. And he was able to fight the bacteria simply by doing these mindfulness breathing techniques, the Wim Hof method. And then he was able to show that you could take people right off the street, show them how to do this in a few hours, and then you can inject them with the coli bacteria, and they too would be able to stimulate their immune system simply through breath to be able to kill off the E. coli. Which would have really done serious harm to them. So follow Wim Hof to know the Wim Hof breathing method and incorporate it into your life, whether it's every day, whether you do it every second day, whether you interchange it between the Ujjayi breath and other pranayama breathing techniques, but incorporate mindfulness breathing into your life. Okay. And if you have the idea that you need to breathe, or that you forgot to wake up in the morning and do it, and you have the idea that, I should really breathe, then implement the 5-second rule, stop everything you're doing, and within 5 seconds, start doing the mindfulness breathing. Now let's talk about yoga. We talked about breath. We talked about how to use breath to detoxify your lungs, to detoxify your blood, to detoxify all the organs. Now let's look at how yoga can do the same thing. And we're going to share these links with you. I know it's a lot of information to take in. We're going to share links with you. And at the end of the day, everything that you hear, you need to be your own researcher. So go out there and find that person who inspires you, whether it's a yoga instructor, whether it's a breathing instructor, a meditation instructor. You might have to go through 20, 30, 40 of them to find the one that you love, the one that you connect with, the one that you resonate with. But the whole point is you need to find someone to help you. Now, instructors are great. Coaches are brilliant. And, I love anytime I think like, oh, I don't need a coach, I can do it on my own, I'm often prove myself wrong, because at the end of the day, we tend to need somebody else to help motivate us, to stimulate us, to remind us, to hold us accountable. And, I played tennis in university. I went and played in Mississippi, and I would never have gotten there without having a coach. No professional athlete on the planet goes and becomes a professional athlete without a coach. So if you want to be a professional yogini, if you want to be a professional entrepreneur, if you want to be a, wicked breath master, if you want to be, it doesn't matter what you want to do in your life, get yourself a coach, someone to help you. And it could be a friend, it could be your mother, it could be your sister, it could be, someone you have to pay, you could do trades with somebody. But the whole entire point is it's often you need someone to help you along those lines. So, a professional tennis player gets out there with a coach who kicks their butt 4 hours a day, 6 hours a day. And that's how they become good and become obsessed with what you're doing as well. I'm obsessed with working. I'm obsessed with loving my kids. I'm obsessed with Mel Robbins right now. I'm obsessed with Grant Cardone. I'm obsessed with Kelly Hand, with my life coach, who I meet with once every 2 weeks. I love the work that we're doing together. I will never miss an appointment. I'll never cancel an appointment. And having a coach enables me to be pretty amazing at everything that I do. It's not me being amazing, it's me being able to be amazing because of the support of all of these different individuals in my life. So let's get into how you can use yoga every single day to help you detoxify your organs. So what's brilliant about yoga and the asanas, I'm specifically talking about the asanas, the postures. There's many different elements to yoga. There's karmic yoga, there's breath yoga, there's mindfulness yoga, there is work yoga, there is love yoga and relationship yoga. There's all of those things. Yoga is all about unity. Okay, unifying the body, the mind, the spirit all together. What I'm talking about right now is how to use asanas, yoga postures, to stimulate your digestive organs and to help them. So, I'm so guilty of it. I can sit behind my computer for 8-10 hours a day and not even flinch. It's terrible. My butt could be numb, my neck can be hurting, and I will still power through. So I need to use apps to remind me to stand up. I just bought a Fitbit because I definitely need, a coach to kick my butt to make me stand up and stop working and go stretch and go for a walk and go eat and drink and do all of those things. And it's because I get so into what I'm doing. So when you, have a hard time remembering to stretch, to breathe, to do yoga, you really need something or someone to kick your ass. So let's get into the yoga postures and what they do. So yoga moves your body, first of all. And anytime you move your body, you're moving your organs inside. So just remember that, okay? So whether it's walking, it's running, anytime you are twisting and bending over and doing back bends, you are creating space in your cavity, in your body to allow your organs to twist and be compressed and to move. And so when you do that, you're stimulating those organs to do what they're designed to do, which is to heal, to repair, to detoxify. If you're stagnant and you're not moving, basically you're not getting any movement around those organs. So it's so important to use movement in your life every single day. It could be dance, it could be sex, it could be running, walking, and in this case, yoga. So let's get into some of the asanas. Now remember, you could do any asana really to stimulate organs, but there's definite certain postures that you can use to stimulate certain organs in your body. Now I'm just going to give you a few, and after this, like I said, I want you to go and do your research and find a yoga instructor that you love, whether it's online, in a studio, in person, it doesn't matter what it is and where it is, but get somebody to guide you through it so that you can do this every day. So a simple pose that you can do is child's pose. And I love child's pose. I did it this morning. It felt amazing. And child's pose is, you're going to curl your knees up and you're going to fold over your bent knees on the ground. You're going to stretch your arms out in front of you. They could be off to the side. They can be right out in front. You can switch off to the other side. Your arms can be down beside you. They can be underneath your forehead. It doesn't matter. They can be between your legs. Child pose, there's many variations. And it's just such a beautiful pose to stimulate your organs first thing in the morning, because what it actually does is it compresses everything. It puts pressure on your abdomen, on your liver. It stretches out your back, creating space for your kidneys. It does so many things. So then when you release out of the posture, you actually get this flood of fresh blood that's running through to all of those organs and a flood of fresh oxygen. Now, it's important when you're doing yoga poses that you also breathe. So when you're in child's pose, it's going to feel tight. And, if it's hard on your belly, if it's hard on your knees, you can put a block underneath your bum and between your heels and simply just open your knees wide and allow your belly to fall through in between your knees to create some space. But I love having my knees compressed directly underneath my belly because I feel that compression. And then when I invite breath into my body, it forces me to put even more pressure on those organs and then to expand my back rib cage even more up to the sky. And then what it allows, it creates space in the intercostal muscles and ribs, and it creates space in my back body. And then it creates space also in my belly, even though it's being compressed. So when I sit up out of child's pose, it's fresh everything coming through to flood, to nutrify, to detoxify. So child's pose is brilliant for that. If you do any pose, do that. Now, I also love twists. Twists in yoga are fantastic because they're actually compressing your organs from a different angle. And so you could be on your back doing a twist. You could do a seated twist. You could do it so when you're on your back, you're bringing your knees up and letting your knees fall to the side. You switch over to the other side. You can have your arms, spread as in spread eagle. And there's so many different ways to do twists. So look up any type of twist in yoga postures, and start implementing those into your life every single day. What they do is they open up the rib cage, they twist the organs this way as opposed to compressing them this way. And so again, they're stimulating your organs. Another pose you can do is one where you're laying on the ground and you do, a cobra or a sphinx or up dog. And so that way, or bow, for example, all your organs are pressed into the earth. When you breathe in, you're breathing into your belly, you're breathing into your back, and you're stretching your spine in the opposite direction. A lot of us don't do back bends. And this is a simple way to simply open up the chest and allow more space for your lungs. So it's very stimulating to the lungs, it's stimulating to the liver, stimulating to the kidneys as well. Other poses that you can do are inversion poses. So you can do down dog, big toe pose or a straight forward fold. Anything where you're inverted and you're hanging forward is another way to stimulate the organs as well. You're moving, allowing gravity to pull down on those organs, to pull the blood, to pull and stretch all of those areas. So again, a child's pose, anything where you're compressing, a twist posture, an inversion posture like downward facing dog, and then anything that you're doing a back bend. Those are all great ways. So you might just choose 4 postures, one that accomplishes all of those things, and just do those. It could take you 5 minutes in the morning. Right? In fact, you can incorporate these yoga postures as part of your breathing as well. So when you're in those postures, you can do the Wim Hof breathing. You can do Ujjayi breath. You can just do a mindfulness breath. But at least you can do both at the same time. And you should be always remembering to breathe when you are doing your yoga postures as well. So use yoga, use breath, sign up for Wim Hof, check out Mel Robbins' 5-second rule, and start using these techniques every day to really support your body to detoxify using stretching, movement, and breath. If you have any questions, definitely let us know. You can write to us at info@richerhealth.ca. You can follow us online. Come eat at the Green Mustache. Nutrify your body with 100% organic, plant-rich food that's not processed, that's fresh from the gardens, directly to our stores. I love it that we have our farmers that'll come in. They've picked the food at 5:30 or 6 that morning, and then they carry it in their rubber boots and they drop it off at our restaurants, and then we take it and we wash it and we prepare it into gorgeous meals that are clean, that are healthy, that are nutrifying, stimulating, and also help your body detoxify. So remember to always start with food. Make sure you make those changes in your life and incorporate breathing, mindfulness, yoga into your life. And stay tuned for our next Facebook live chat on Tuesdays at noon, where we cover amazing topics about how to eat real to heal from cancer and chronic disease. Have a fantastic week, everyone.